Hey, English learners, welcome back to English Podcast for You, your cozy little corner on the internet to listen to real, comfortable English and build your confidence one conversation at a time. I'm Tom.
And I'm Emma. Before we even step into today's topic, we both just wanted to stop for a second and say thank you. Thank you so much for pressing play today. Whether you're walking to work, washing the dishes, sitting on the bus, or just sipping tea in your living room.
Yeah, seriously, it genuinely means the world to us that you choose to spend part of your day listening to us talk. And hey, give yourself a little bit of credit today. Just by sitting here and listening to this real English conversation, your brain is quietly absorbing the rhythm, the pronunciation, and the natural flow of the language.
Exactly. You don't need to force it or memorize every single grammar rule like you're preparing for an exam. Just relax, take a deep breath, and let the conversation wash over you.
And speaking of taking a deep breath, Emma, can I be totally honest with you before we start today's topic?
Uh-oh, that tone usually means you did something slightly embarrassing. Go on, what happened?
Okay. Yesterday at work, my manager sent me a document full of technical jargon and complex instructions. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "Tom, this is due by Friday. You've got this, right?"
And what did you say?
I looked him right in the eye, gave him a very confident nod, and said, "Absolutely, crystal clear." And then I walked back to my desk, sat down, opened the file, and realized I was completely clueless. I had zero idea what he actually wanted me to do.
Oh no, Tom, the classic nod and pretend trick. Why do we always do that to ourselves?
Because I was terrified of looking silly. I was terrified of admitting that I needed clarity. And that made me think, how many times do we all freeze up like that, whether at work, at school, or especially when learning a second language?
Oh, so many times. And that is exactly why today's episode is all about confidence building. Specifically, how to handle that exact awkward situation. How to tell your office mentor or boss that you don't understand the task. You know, Tom, what you just confessed, it hits so close to home. When you're at a new job or even just working with a senior mentor, there's this invisible pressure to act like you know everything immediately.
Right. It's like this internal voice whispering, if I ask a question now, they're going to think I lied on my resume, or they'll think I'm not smart enough for this job.
Exactly. But let's break that down for a second. What does it actually mean when you feel clueless?
Well, to be clueless simply means having no understanding, knowledge, or idea about what is happening or what to do next, like when you open a project brief and it looks like it was written in an ancient, forgotten language.
Yes, it's that exact feeling when your brain just goes blank. But here's the funny thing. Mentors and managers don't expect us to be psychic. They know they gave us new information. But because we want to look confident, we pretend.
Isn't it ironic, though? We hide our confusion because we want to look competent, but by hiding it, we end up struggling in secret, wasting hours, and making mistakes later, which actually hurts our confidence more.
Yes, that's the trap. Real confidence isn't pretending you have all the answers. Real confidence is being brave enough to raise your hand and say, hey, I want to do a great job on this, but I need a little bit of clarity before I dive in.
Ooh, I love that word, clarity. Let's pause on that word for our listeners. Clarity means clearness, making something easy to see, hear, or understand. When a task is blurry or confusing, you ask for clarity to make it sharp and clear.
Right. So instead of sitting at your desk sweating and staring at your computer screen for 3 hours, you can ask a quick question that clears up the confusion in 30 seconds.
Okay, Emma, but let's talk about the emotional side of this, because intellectually, we all know asking questions is good. We read it in books, our teachers tell us, our bosses say, "My door is always open."
The famous "my door is always open" line.
Exactly. But when you actually walk up to that open door, your hands are sweaty, your heart is beating fast, and your head is spinning. Why is it so emotionally terrifying to admit confusion to a mentor?
I think it's because asking for help feels like showing weakness. We live in a world where speed is celebrated. People want fast answers, quick turnarounds, immediate results. So taking a step back to ask for guidance feels like slowing down.
Yeah, and for non-native English speakers, there's an extra layer of fear, isn't there? You worry, is it because my English isn't good enough? Did I misunderstand a word? Is it a language problem or a work problem?
Oh, 100%. I've talked to so many intermediate English learners who say, Emma, I understood 80% of the meeting, but the 20% I missed contained the main instructions. Now I'm too embarrassed to ask.
But here's a secret I learned the hard way, Emma. Even native English speakers get confused all the time. Senior managers get confused. Projects are often explained poorly. It's rarely a problem with your brain or your English. It's usually just a communication gap.
That's such a relief to hear, honestly. So, how do we reframe this in our minds? How do we build that internal confidence so we don't feel like a burden when asking for help?
By remembering that asking for help shows ownership. When you tell a mentor, I want to make sure I'm heading in the right direction, you aren't saying, I am weak. You are saying, I care about the quality of this work.
Okay, let's get practical. Let's give our listeners the exact words and phrases they can use tomorrow morning if they find themselves confused at work.
I love that. Let's do a quick role play. Imagine you're my office mentor, Emma. I just received a big assignment from you, and I am secretly totally clueless. How do I approach you without sounding unprofessional?
All right, I'm sitting at my desk, sipping coffee, typing an email. Go ahead, Tom.
Salt, hey Emma, do you have 2 minutes? I'm looking over the outline for the new project, and I want to make sure I'm completely aligned with your vision. Could you guide me through section 2 really quickly?
Wow, that sounded so professional and natural. Notice how you use the phrase, guide me through.
Yes, to guide someone through something means to walk them through a process step by step, explaining things as you go. It sounds polite, collaborative, and friendly.
Absolutely. Now, let's try another phrase. What if you only need a quick hint or a starting point? What if you're not completely lost, but you just need a little nudge?
Oh, then you can use the phrase, point in the right direction.
Ooh, I love that one. How would that sound in a real sentence?
You could say, Hi Emma, I'm working on the quarterly report. I'm not quite sure where to find last year's data. Could you point me in the right direction?
Perfection. Look at how simple and smooth that is. You're not asking the person to do the work for you, you're just asking them to show you where the starting line is so you can run the race.
Exactly. You're just asking for a map, not a taxi ride.
You know, Tom, building confidence isn't something that happens overnight. It's like a muscle you have to build slowly by stepping out of your comfort zone in tiny ways.
Definitely. The first time you say, I don't understand, your heart will probably beat a little fast. But the second time, it gets easier. And by the 10th time, it feels completely natural.
And what happens when your mentor explains it and you still don't get it on the first try? Because let's be real, that happens too.
Oh, that is the ultimate test of courage. When they explain it once, look at you expectantly, and your brain is still blank.
What do you do then? Do you panic? Do you pretend again?
You stay calm and say, thanks for explaining that. Just to make sure I have total clarity, let me repeat back what I understood, and you can tell me if I missed anything.
Wow, Tom, that sentence right there is a total game changer. Summarizing what you did understand puts you back in control of the conversation. It shows you are listening actively, and it allows your mentor to just correct the small piece you missed.
Exactly. Confidence isn't never feeling foolish. Confidence is knowing that even if you feel foolish for a moment, you can handle it, learn from it, and grow.
That is so true, Tom. And for all our listeners out there, remember, asking for guidance isn't a sign that your English or your skills aren't enough. It's a sign that you respect your work enough to get it right.
Well said, Emma. Well said.
You know, it also reminds me of how we learn languages in general. People spend years studying grammar rules and books, but when they step into a real conversation, they freeze because they're afraid of making a mistake in front of someone else.
Oh, completely. It's the exact same muscle. Fear of looking clueless at work and fear of making a grammar mistake in conversation come from the very same place, our fear of judgment.
Yes, but once you realize that most people aren't judging you, they're actually just trying to communicate, the weight completely lifts off your shoulders.
That's a huge realization. I remember when I first started learning a second language, I would rehearse my coffee order in my head 5 times before reaching the counter.
Oh, I still do that when I'm traveling. One cappuccino, please. Wait, did I say that right?
Exactly. But if you get the word wrong, the barista doesn't judge you. They just want to help you get your coffee. It's the same with your mentor at work. They just want to help you complete the task so the whole team succeeds.
That's such a powerful way to look at it. Because at the end of the day, your mentor is on your team. They're not sitting there looking at you like an examiner with a red pen, just waiting for you to stumble over a phrase.
Right. They actually want you to succeed. Because when you do well, the whole team looks good and the work gets done faster. It's a win-win for everyone involved.
Exactly. But I think part of the problem, especially when you're working in a second language or starting a new role, is that we get stuck in our own heads. We overthink every single detail before we speak.
Oh, the overthinking cycle is so real. You sit there crafting the perfect sentence for 10 minutes, and by the time you're ready to say it, the meeting has already moved on to 3 other topics.
I've definitely been there. You're quietly polishing your grammar in your mind, and suddenly everyone is packing up their notebooks and walking out the door.
It's so painful, but that's why having a few simple, pre-made phrases ready to go can save you so much mental energy. You don't have to invent a brand new sentence from scratch under pressure.
That's such a great point. When you already have phrases like, could you point me in the right direction? Or, I just want to make sure I have total clarity. Locked in your memory, you don't have to panic. You just pull them out when you need them.
Exactly. It's like keeping a little toolbox in your pocket. You don't have to invent a new tool every time you see a screw. You just reach down and grab the screwdriver.
I love that analogy, Tom. And what's nice about these phrases is that they sound completely natural to a native speaker. They sound polite, direct, and professional without feeling overly stiff or formal.
Yeah, because if you say something like, I am experiencing total cognitive failure regarding this assignment, people are going to look at you very strangely.
Please don't say that to your boss. That sounds like a sci-fi movie.
Right? Keep it simple. Just say, I'm a little clueless on section 3. Could you guide me through it? It's warm, it's honest, and it gets you the exact answer you need.
You know, Tom, speaking of honesty, I think being honest about what you don't know actually builds more trust with your coworkers than pretending you know everything.
Ooh, say more about that. How does admitting confusion build trust?
Well, think about it from a manager's perspective. If an employee always says, yes, no problem, I understand everything, but then turns in the wrong work 3 days later, you start to lose trust in their word.
Because you never know if their yes actually means yes, or if it just means I'm too scared to say no.
Exactly. But if an employee comes to you and says, hey, I understand parts A and B, but I need some clarity on part C before I move forward, you instantly trust them. You know that when they say they understand, they really understand.
Wow, that's huge. So asking questions doesn't make you look incompetent. It actually makes you look reliable and trustworthy.
Absolutely. It shows that you value accuracy over your own ego. And in any professional setting, that's a massive quality.
Man, I wish someone had told me this 5 years ago when I was sitting at my desk sweating over tasks I didn't understand.
Same here. We all have to learn the hard way sometimes, but that's why we're here sharing this today, so our listeners can skip that awkward learning phase and jump straight to feeling confident.
Exactly. And remember, every single time you push past that awkward feeling and ask for guidance, you're training your brain to be bolder. Confidence isn't a personality trait you're born with. It's a habit you practice daily.
You know, Tom, another thing that often holds people back is the fear of interrupting their mentor. Mentors are usually busy people, right? They've got back-to-back meetings, deadlines, emails piling up.
Oh, definitely. Seeing a busy mentor typing away furiously at their keyboard can be super intimidating. You feel like you're bothering them just by standing near their desk.
Exactly. So how do you approach a mentor who looks extremely busy without feeling like an annoyance?
Well, timing is everything, but so is how you frame the request. Instead of jumping straight into your question while they're in the middle of typing, you can send a quick message or ask, "Hey, do you have 5 minutes later today when you're at a good stopping point?"
Ooh, that's so respectful of their time. It gives them control over when they answer you, so they don't feel put on the spot while trying to finish an urgent task.
Right. It shows that you respect their busy schedule, but you're still taking initiative to get the clarity you need.
And usually, when you give people a choice like that, they're much happier to sit down with you and guide you through the details properly, rather than rushing through an answer in 30 seconds.
Exactly. A little courtesy goes a long way in building those positive workplace relationships.
That brings up another interesting thought. What if your mentor isn't very helpful? Because let's be honest, not every manager or mentor is great at explaining things.
Oh, that is a very real situation. Sometimes you ask for clarity and they give you an explanation that is even more confusing than the original task.
Right? They use three more industry terms you've never heard before and walk away thinking they solved your problem.
And you're just standing there like, great, now I'm twice as clueless as I was 5 minutes ago.
Oh, I have been in that exact spot. You just nod, smile, and think, okay, note to self, never ask them for help again.
Right? But seriously, when that happens, it's such an important moment to pause and realize it's not a failure on your part. Sometimes people are just bad at explaining things, especially if they've been doing the job for 10 years and forget what it feels like to be new.
That's called the curse of knowledge, right? When someone knows a subject so well that they forget how to explain the basics to someone who's just starting out.
Exactly. They skip 5 steps in their head because it's obvious to them, but to you, it feels like they're speaking in riddles.
So when you run into a mentor like that, what's the best backup plan? How do you get point in the right direction without feeling totally defeated?
Well, first, don't panic. You can always look for secondary resources within the company, like past project templates, internal wikis, or even asking a peer who recently did a similar task.
Ooh, yes. A colleague who is at a similar level as you might actually explain it in much simpler terms than a senior manager, because they just went through the exact same learning process.
Exactly. A teammate can often guide you through the practical step-by-step reality of the work without all the high-level corporate speak.
And if you do have to go back to that busy mentor, you can make it super easy for them by asking specific closed questions instead of big open ones.
Closed questions? What do you mean by that? Give us an example.
Sure. Instead of saying, I still don't understand how to do the market research, which feels huge and overwhelming to explain, you could say, should I focus this market research on local competitors or international ones?
Ooh, brilliant. That turns a 30-minute lecture into a simple 5-second answer. You're giving them multiple choice options instead of asking them to write an essay for you.
Exactly. It saves them time, saves you stress, and still gives you the exact piece of clarity you're missing.
You know, Emma, all of this really comes down to one core mindset shift, viewing workplace communication as a collaboration, not a test you have to pass alone.
That is so well said, Tom. A collaboration, not a test. When you stop viewing every task as a test of your intelligence, you stop feeling so terrified of showing where your knowledge ends.
Exactly. Nobody enters a job knowing 100% of everything. The most successful people aren't the ones who pretend to be perfect. They're the ones who communicate effectively, ask smart questions, and adapt quickly.
And that's a skill that goes way beyond just workplace English. That's a life skill right there.
It really is. Whether you're trying to figure out a complex office task, navigating a foreign country, or just trying to order coffee without stressing out.
Hey, baby steps. First, master ordering the coffee, then tackle the office presentation.
Hey, one small win at a time. That's how you build real, long-lasting confidence.
You know, Tom, thinking back to when you were totally clueless about that manager's document yesterday, how did that situation actually end up playing out? Did you go back and ask for help?
Well, after staring at the document for about 20 minutes, I took a deep breath, remembered the advice we give on this podcast, and walked over to his desk.
And what happened? Did he judge you? Did he secretly regret hiring you?
Not at all. I used the phrase we talked about earlier. Hey, I want to make sure I'm heading in the right direction. Could you give me a little clarity on section 2? And do you know what he said?
What did he say?
He looked at the page, paused, and said, "Oh, wow, I completely forgot to attach the reference file you need for Section 2. No wonder it didn't make sense."
No way! So the document was actually incomplete?
Yes, it wasn't my English, it wasn't my ability, and I wasn't being silly. He literally forgot to send me the key attachment.
That is incredible. Imagine if you'd stayed silent at your desk for 3 days, trying to solve a puzzle that was missing half the pieces.
Exactly. I would have wasted hours stressing out over something that took 30 seconds to fix just by opening my mouth and asking for clarity.
That is the ultimate proof right there. So many times we blame ourselves for not understanding, when in reality, the instructions were just missing key details from the start.
Precisely. And that's why you should never feel embarrassed to speak up. Most of the time, asking a question actually saves everyone time and prevents silly mistakes down the road.
That is such a great story, Tom. A perfect real-life example of why clear communication matters so much more than trying to look perfect.
It really was an eye-opener for me. It reminded me that we often create these huge, scary stories in our minds that have zero connection to reality.
We really do. Our brains love to jump to the worst case scenario. We imagine people getting angry or disappointed when most of the time they're just busy or made a small mistake themselves.
Exactly. And you know, Emma, another thing I noticed during that whole situation was how much my body relaxed the moment I spoke up. Before walking over to my manager, my shoulders were up around my ears and my stomach was in knots.
Oh, that physical tension is so real. Anxiety isn't just in your head, you feel it in your entire body.
Absolutely. But as soon as I asked for clarity and realized it was just a missing attachment, all that physical stress just melted away. It felt like a giant weight lifted right off my chest.
That relief is the best feeling in the world, and it's proof that taking 5 seconds of courage to speak up saves you from hours of physical and mental exhaustion.
Right. So to anyone listening right now who might be sitting on a question at work or in class, just take that deep breath and ask. You'll feel so much better afterwards.
That's such good advice. You know, Tom, as we start wrapping up today's episode, I'm curious. If you could give our listeners just one main takeaway from our chat today, what would it be?
I'd say don't let the fear of looking clueless stop you from getting the clarity you need. Real confidence isn't about knowing everything. It's about being comfortable with what you don't know and having the courage to ask someone to guide you through it.
Wow, I love that so much. Real confidence is being comfortable with what you don't know. That is such a comforting thought for anyone learning a language or navigating a new job.
Absolutely. And hey, for everyone tuning in today, try using one of our target phrases this week. Whether you ask someone to point you in the right direction or guide you through a task, give it a shot and see how much easier your day becomes.
Yes, tell us in the comments if you've ever had a missing attachment moment like Tom's, or share a phrase you used to ask for help at work. We always read your comments and love hearing your stories.
We really do. Thank you all so much for spending this time with us today on English Podcast for You. Keep practicing, stay curious, and be kind to yourself as you learn.
Take care of yourselves, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye!
Bye, everyone.